With over 400 celebrity interviews and tons of pop culture nerdiness, Too Opinionated is a safe haven for your inner geek. Find us at meistercon.com or on YouTube under MeisterCon Pod. And please subscribe. It would really help us out. Thanks, everybody. Hi, everybody. Welcome to another edition of Too Opinionated. Super excited. Today, I've got actor, writer, director, Chad Hamilton with me. So welcome, Chad.
Thanks, Mike. Thanks for having me. Hello, everyone.
I'm pretty excited to talk to you about Bad Romance because it looks amazing. It's so different than anything else I had seen. I love it. But before we do that, tell me a little bit about what got you into the entertainment business.
Well, I was kind of a late bloomer to the film industry and finding my passion for film. I kind of found it in college. It was kind of like my sophomore year of college, and
you mean that you didn't just like you always wanted to be an actor? That's usually the answer I get. It's like I've been acting since I was 2.
No, Bad Romance is actually the first thing I've ever acted in my entire life. So I never even had a passion for acting at all. I never wanted to be an actor. So I originally wanted to just be a producer, be on the business side of film. So, when I was in college, I actually got my undergraduate degree in business because I wanted to go that route. And I did for a little bit, but I kind of slowly found it. And, I was such a late bloomer to film that I remember I would just start binge watching all the classics when I was in college. And I hadn't seen really any of them up to that point. So I was watching all these like amazing films, and it just kind of like clicked with me like, oh, I need to do this with my life. And so, that's kind of like how I got into it. And it's kind of slowly progressed over the years. I went more towards like writing and directing and more of the creative side.
Well, when you were working on Bad Romance, did you know going into it that you're going to write yourself a part, or
no? I had no idea. I play this for anyone listening who hasn't seen it. I play this kind of a delusional video store clerk who's kind of like the mentor figure. I think of him as like an anti-mentor though, because he's really bad at doing that to the main character, the protagonist, Rob. And I had actually I auditioned quite a lot of actors. I probably auditioned a lot for a small little indie film like this. I probably auditioned 20 or 30 actors for that role, and nobody really felt right. And I'm a really big fan of Taika Waititi. Do you know who that is?
Oh, of course.
Yeah,
I'm nerdy, so of course.
Yeah. I like how he gives himself these like small little roles in his films. Especially like his earlier films. And so I was like, you know what the hell? I'll give it a shot. I have nothing to lose. And so I did it. And I'm the producer of the film too. So I scheduled all my scenes out for just one day of the shoot, so I could just get it all done with and focus the rest of the time on acting. And so I'm in quite a lot of the movie, but we filmed all of my stuff in literally one day. So it kind of worked out.
We watched it with family here at the studio over this past Easter weekend. So everybody was in. So we probably had 17 or 18 people that were watching it.
And wow.
It was a blast in a group.
Oh,
because
was it
it's quirky and it's funny, and it's kind of touching in parts. It was a really good group movie.
Oh, that's cool. That's cool. I still haven't actually seen the movie with like a huge group of people, so it would be interesting to see.
You haven't done the red carpet thing yet?
Nope, didn't do the red carpet. Nope. We maybe one of these days we'll do something like that with it, but that's cool. I'm glad to hear that a lot of the jokes landed and stuff, because
so let's back up just a little. So tell me what the movie's about. And who's your lead actors in?
So Bad Romance is a comedic neo-noir about a socially awkward, lonely guy who attempts to track down the man who killed his wife. But he's not doing it for revenge. He's just doing it as a way to kind of make friends and find love along the way. So It's sort of about loneliness and overcoming loneliness. And I like to think of it as it's like a anti-love romance, but told in kind of like a unique and complex noir way. But it's a
Yeah.
comedy more than anything. It's a good time, and it's a genre film. So
Well, just the premise, this guy's wife was murdered, so he's looking for the killer, but not for what you would think. He's
right,
really just
right.
trying to find love.
Yeah. And it's pretty obvious, I think, at the start. This isn't a spoiler, but he actually is just making that up as a way to like meet and impress women. So it's not as dark as it seems. Like it can kind of come across as like a really kind of a dark plot, but it's actually a little bit lighter than that, a little more
No,
lighthearted.
it's hilarious.
Oh, nice.
And he's so good in that role. I mean, he's
Yeah.
very believable as just a quirky, kind of odd guy, but good heart.
Yeah, Sanjay Rao, he is a genius. Like he definitely elevated that character and the role, and I relied on him a lot. Like it's pretty tightly scripted, but he's a genius at improv, so I utilized a lot of that in the film. And some of the funniest stuff are him and Emily Trent, who plays Hannah. They're kind of like back and forth.
Oh, they're funny.
It's great. They had great chemistry for sure. And yeah, Sanjay is just a genius. And he hits like every single emotion. Like he plays, he's hilarious, he's lovable, he's likable, he's weird, kind of creepy, but he's also like you know, he plays delusional a little bit in the movie and sad and he cries and he loves and he feels, and it's like his performance is it just
He's
like
all over the place.
yeah, he hits every beat, every emotion in the movie, and yeah, he's phenomenal for sure.
Yeah. Yeah, well, I don't know because they were both so funny and they
Yeah,
worked so well off of each other.
yeah,
Like
yeah,
she did a really good job being kind of creeped out at times and
yeah.
but she kind of went along, but
Her
but she wasn't too
performance,
sure about it.
yeah, Emily's performance is really great to watch a second time. Like after you know the plot and what happens and what her motivations are in the film, if you rewatch her performance in the movie, you can kind of see she's in her head. She's like, this guy is fucking weird. Or I don't know. I apologize. This guy's freaking weird, like and so I don't know. She did a really great job too. And she plays that kind of down to earth, sort of like pragmatic kind of character really well.
Well, yeah, because she doesn't just let him off the hook. She gives him pretty hard time.
Yeah. I think so too.
Yeah, it's so good. What kind of inspired you? Where did the idea come
Um, yeah, so I had before Bad Romance, I had actually spent a couple years trying to get a completely different feature film I made. It was going to be the first film that I directed for myself that I wrote. It took me a couple years to write it, and then I spent a year trying to put it all together and raise money and do that whole thing, and just wasn't coming together. And I got so frustrated with it. I was like, you know what? I was living in Austin, Texas at the time, and I was like, you know what? I'm just gonna like rewrite a completely new script with the resources that I have, or I know I could like have
from?
access
Right.
to fairly easily. So I kind of wrote it with that in mind, knowing that like Rob's apartment was the apartment I was living in Austin. So we had that location down. And then all the other locations, like the video store and Book People, which is this really popular bookstore in Austin, like I knew I
Yep.
could get those locations. And so I had kind of everything. I was writing around the fact that I could film it in my apartment, and I had all these other locations that my use that I could use. So I kind of wrote it with all that in mind, but I was also really inspired by I had this idea that I wanted to do about from watching like Shutter Island and Memento are two of my favorite
Yeah.
films. And there's like a shared idea in both of those films about like a flawed protagonist forced to live in a false reality in order to survive. And I really liked that idea, that like core structure for a film. And I had wanted to do something with that. And I was like, could this be it? Could I do something with that? And then I also had this separate idea about this socially awkward, kind of lonely character of Rob that I wanted to do for a comedy. So I kind of just merged those two ideas, and then it came up with this really interesting thing about like love and like romance, and how is love a false reality we delude ourselves into believing in order to get by. And I was like, oh, that really hits. And so I kind of went with that, and I literally wrote it. I was like I said, I was so depressed I couldn't get my other film made. I was like, I'm going to give myself, I told myself I was going to give myself 1 month to write it, and then I was just going to and then I was just going to start going into pre-production. And it actually took me a little longer. I think it took me like a couple months to get the first draft, and then I think it was about 4 months total before I started going into
It's still
pre-production.
pretty quick.
Came really quick, and it's a low budget film. I made this thing for $20,000. So, and
I knew you didn't put a ton in it, although 20,000's not easy to come by.
yeah,
But it looked well done. Like you weren't missing anything that if you had a bigger budget, I'm not sure what you would have put into.
right. And part of that, I think, is the actors' performances really kind of sell. They hide a lot of the production kind of things, the low budget production things, just because the performances of the actors are so good. So I think that covers up a lot of it. And then, it's a black and white film. And, it wasn't just black and white to be black and white. It was, we were playing on the, black and white of noir films and romance, right, and thematically, like black and white ways of thinking when we think about like love and stuff. So there was a lot to it. That being said, it did cover up a lot of the like production limitations that we had, filming in black and white does. So that definitely helped too. And then it was leaning into the things that we know could be good. Like, we were confident in the storytelling and, like I said, the actors and the score. Aaron J. Morton does the score for the film, and his score totally, like, he blew me away with how good he did. And that kind of helps cover up some things and elevates things. So it was like leaning into the things we knew could be really good. And that's kind of how it kind of came.
I think it's impressive that you struggled with the first one, and a lot of people would have just given up if they couldn't get that one made. And you just redirected that energy into a new one.
Yeah. I think, I mean, you kind of have to, like, every filmmaker goes through that kind of stuff. Like, that's the ones who end up having success in the industry are the ones that don't let that kind of stop them. I mean, it's depressing and it sucks and it'll drive you crazy, but it's the ones that can kind of push through that and just keep going, are the ones that end up succeeding. And so,
I mean, any hope to revisit that one at some point?
Yeah, for sure. I kind of I have the next one essentially written that I want to do, and it's not that one. It's a completely different one. So I have the next one I want to do, which is another like comedy genre film. But what I want to do after that is that idea, but I don't actually. I've had, because it's been years now since I've written it, and it keeps like changing in my mind. So I do want to revisit it at some point, but that's the thing. I struggle with, like, I think this is the reason why I like to produce stuff that I direct, is because, like, I'm not one of those people who can like come up with ideas and then just sit on them for years and revisit them. Like, right. I'm the kind of person, like, if I get an idea, I want to write it, and then I'm going to make that. I need to make it like at that moment, or I'm going to lose interest, and like, it's just not going to be the same. And so, so it is tough. So like revisiting that old idea, it just keeps changing in my head. So I don't know. I think I'll eventually get to it though.
Yeah.
For sure.
Or are there any plans to revisit the characters from Bad Romance at some point? Will there be some type of sequel, or at least something with the same character?
I don't think there would be a direct sequel. That story is kind of done, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Although my cinematographer said it would be funny to do a spin-off of the Rob character and the Jackass character, but I mean,
that would be funny.
Yeah, it would be funny. But I mean, I think it's just fun to kind of think about. I don't think that would ever really happen, but I don't know. It would be interesting to revisit the Rob character again in something else, but I don't think there would be like a direct sequel to this one. No.
Yeah. You could do, I mean, you could do a lot with it. You could do little shorts, you could do a YouTube channel and just do little skits and that stuff. But the characters are good enough that if you wanted to, I think you could revisit.
Oh, well, thank you. I appreciate that. That's a nice view. They're actually, I was thinking about, so we actually shot over 100 hours of footage for this film.
Holy cow,
Part of
that
that
seems
was
like a lot.
yeah, no, it was everyone who worked on the film was like, this is the most footage we've ever shot. And part of that was because this was also like my first film. Like
Yes.
I've done a lot of like shorts and things in the past. Um, but I had never really made an actual proper film. And so I kind of didn't know what I was doing, to be completely honest. So I just kept the cameras rolling, and I'm glad we did because we captured, and I would let Sanjay and Emily and Raleigh, who plays Jack, I'd let them all improvise as much as they wanted after we would get what I had written. So we would do takes where they would do it exactly the way I had written, and we do takes where they would add on to the end of that, and we do takes where they just completely improvise like the whole thing. And when you do start doing that, like the footage just keeps coming in, and so
Yeah.
oh, and
Did you
so
regret it at all later when you had to sort through all that footage? Were you
yeah,
like, why did I film so
yeah,
much?
it was terrible. I hated it. I was like, why did I do this? And I watched every single second of that 100 hours of footage and made sure we got the right takes. But it took me, and I had never edited a film either.
Yeah.
And I'm terrible. I'm actually not a very technical person at all. And I was trying to do it all myself just because I didn't have the money to pay anybody to do it. And so that's part of the reason why this movie took so long to finish, is because I was learning as I was going along, in every step of the process I was learning as I was going along. So I was learning how to edit a film and do post-production
I
of
mean,
film.
that's impressive that you were able to do that.
It was a good learning experience, and I had never gone to like a real like film school. Like I'd taken
Yeah.
like a couple film production classes and stuff, but I'd never gone to film school, so I didn't know how to do any of this. So I was learning as I was going along. Um, but the reason I brought that up is because we have so much footage that there's so many outtakes that didn't make the film, that I think it would be funny to like cut together certain like additional things and post them just on the internet, like
Yeah,
on
you should do that.
Instagram or
I think that'd
TikTok.
be hilarious.
Yeah, and there's some really like some of the funniest stuff I had to cut. Like everyone knows, like in comedy, you have to sacrifice a lot of the comedy in order to tell a story you want to tell. And like some of the funniest stuff is stuff that we just had to get rid of. And like it would be hilarious. Like we still lived in like 2005 and make a good like extra on a DVD, but unfortunately, don't have DVDs anymore. We do,
I
but
guess they're out there. We just don't do much with them.
yeah, and I still like all my favorite movies I still buy on Blu-ray, but there's something
I
about
do
that.
that too. Yeah, it's kind of like reading a book. I don't
Right.
like a tablet. I want the book in my.
Yeah, I've literally never read a book on a tablet. Like
Yeah, me neither.
I gotta hold that in my hands for sure.
Yeah.
Um, but
What made you choose Austin as your location?
well, I was living there. I had been
Okay.
living there so I went to school a little right outside of Austin, in a place called Texas State University in San Marcos. So
Yeah.
I knew Austin. I was in Austin all the time in college. And then, after college, I moved back to Houston, which is where I grew up for a little bit. But I eventually moved to Austin, and I lived there for over 7 years. And yeah, it's just a great independent film city. Like it's a very supportive community. I knew I wanted to try to make my first film there because you can make it so much cheaper than out here in Los Angeles.
Right.
At least that's the
Yeah.
mindset I had. I don't know for sure if that's true or not, um, but yeah, I loved Austin. It was, there's so many talented artists there and people who are just eager to work and help out and just be a part of something cool. So yeah, they have a great film community. The Austin Film Society, which was started by Richard Linklater, was
Oh,
huge.
right.
Texas Film Commission is great. And yeah, and I don't know, there was just something about Austin that I liked,
Well, it's a great town.
it's a great town, especially for like a lot of my favorite filmmakers' first films were made in Austin, which I think is kind of interesting. Like I know Richard Linklater's kind of got his start in Austin making Slacker. Robert Rodriguez, with El Mariachi. The Duplass brothers did like The Puffy Chair, I think, and some of their first short films there. Wes Anderson actually made his short film for Bottle Rocket before it became a feature in Austin. So it has this cool history of like first time filmmakers making their first thing there. And I was like, not that I'm on the level of those guys, but I was like, it would be kind of cool to lean into that a little bit. So
no, that's pretty awesome. I was out in Austin last October for the music festival, the Austin City Limits
oh
Music Festival.
oh
Yeah.
did you like it?
Oh, it was amazing. It's been years since I've been to a festival, but it was really, really.
I could never.
Really,
That's actually one of the entire time I lived in Austin, I never went to ACL. Not that I didn't want to, but it's so freaking hot. I think they changed the time of the year that it happens in, but
it was still pretty hot.
it's like 100 degrees and there's
Yeah.
like 2 million people go to that thing. And I just like, I can't deal with that.
They had the cooling stations. I spent a lot of time there.
Oh yeah. There were used to
standing
be
right in front of them.
back in the day, people would get like hospitalized because they'd run out of water and, people get dehydrated and stuff. So it's good that they have those like water stations and cooling stations.
Yeah, it was pretty well run with that.
Yeah.
But yeah, we had a blast. My brother-in-law is an ATF agent out of Austin. So we stayed with him and then just took the tram into to the festival.
Oh yeah.
Pretty good. Yeah. I'm hoping we go back this year. I enjoyed it.
Have you been to South by Southwest?
No, but that's on the list. At some point I'll get out there. I hear it's crazy.
Oh, it's awesome. I always recommend people visit Austin during South by. A lot of locals hate it because it totally like takes over the city and causes a lot of traffic and stuff. But it's like the funnest, it's the best festival ever. So much fun. And you don't even really have to buy a badge or anything. You can kind of get into whatever you want on the day of.
Yeah.
And it's like, it's so much fun. And there's great music too at like small little intimate venues, which is awesome. The programming's phenomenal itself. I'm like promoting South by despite me never having a film in that festival.
Not yet.
Yeah, not yet. There you go.
Yeah.
And Fantastic Fest is another amazing festival in Austin you should visit.
Oh yeah, I've heard good things about that.
Yeah, that one's awesome. Especially like genre fans would like love Fantastic Fest. It's so much fun.
Yeah. We went to Sundance in 2020. So it's like we got back from Sundance, they shut everything down.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. But we had the experience at least because it was wide open while we were there, but literally like a week after it, they shut everything down.
Yeah. I think it's Sundance. Are they even back? Did they do a live?
I think this year they were back.
Okay.
They definitely did virtual for a year or two.
Yeah, these virtual festivals, no offense,
they're not as much fun.
Yeah, it kind of sucked because Bad Romance kind of when I was starting to pitch it to or send it to festivals and stuff, they were all virtual pretty much. And so it was like, well, this is like my first movie. It would have been cool to do an actual like, film festival run with it, but next one.
Yeah, this one would have fit at Sundance. It would have been perfect. You could have come in, done a little Q&A. It would have been fun.
I don't know if it would have gotten into Sundance. Sundance is really hard to get into it for like small little indie films like this. Like it does happen, but it's like it's pretty rare, I think. But I would take it if Sundance wanted it for sure.
That'd be awesome. So how did you end up on the streamers? Was there a process where you decided, okay, this is how I'm going to release it? How did that come about?
Yeah, so I was looking for a distributor for a while. I think I went to, and like I said, I was learning this process as I was going along. So it took me a while to figure out how to get the movie out there to begin with. But actually, movie distribution's in a really interesting place for independent filmmakers right now. And I think everything is sort of changing right now in a good way. So I ended up going to the American film market virtually, not in person, virtually in 2021. At the end, it was like November or December of 2021. And I was with the intention of looking for a distributor for Bad Romance. And, I did like months of research on every distributor I think this movie would work for. And, you know, every single filmmaker who's listened to this who's done that before knows it's kind of a useless process. You do all this research and you send out all these emails, and like 99.9% of them just ignore you,
Yeah.
which just kind of sucks. But so I ended up going to AFM, and I didn't really know what I was doing. I was talking to like sales agents and people, and no one was like really that interested. And so I didn't know what to do. But I, like, after the market was over, I got even more information from distributors to contact, and I ended up getting interest from one like traditional distributor who made me an offer. I don't know if I should say their name or not, but I actually turned it down. Because it was like not a good deal.
Yeah.
But they're a good distributor. They were actually a pretty reputable distributor. And no offense to them, like they seem like they're doing really cool and interesting things, but just something didn't really resonate with me. And then there was actually another distributor who was probably even bigger than that one, who was really interested in Bad Romance, but they only wanted it if I could get them a version in color. And I was like, that's like
kind of defeats the purpose.
Yeah, that's like not at all. And just, you know, when I said that, I was like, there's no way. And it kind of sucked because like we were actually close to making a second version of this film in color and in post-production, because we filmed it in color, and obviously my colorist was the one. I mean, we planned on making it in black and white, but we filmed it in color. And then when I got to the color grade, my colorist asked me, he was like, "Are you sure? Like, black and white looks great," and he preferred black and white, but it also like he did a version. The last 10 minutes, I think he did in color just to show me, and it looked pretty good. And so we're gonna move forward with both versions. And I was just like, nah, let's just do black and white. Like, you know, stick to our guns, hold to it. And so we didn't. And then the distributor was like, "Well, we'll take a version in color if you have that." But I'm glad we didn't. And I ended up going with there's this new company called Film Hub. Have you heard of Film Hub?
I have. Yeah.
Yeah, they're awesome. You know, it's kind of this they're kind of a mix between a distributor and a marketplace. I don't even know how to describe them, but essentially if you meet their technical requirements, anyone can put a film onto Film Hub, and they'll take your film and pitch it to all these platforms and streaming channels and stuff.
Yeah.
And you know, I like it because it's like if your movie's good, it's going to get picked up by channel. You know what I mean? So so that's kind of the route that I went with. And you know, they're kind of opening the doors to filmmakers and putting it out there. And then it's up. The only thing is, like, I'm learning about movie marketing and how hard it is to get people to actually watch your movie now.
Yeah.
And that's the tricky part. That's what I'm realizing is one of the hardest parts is, like, you know, you spend all years making a movie, you know, thousands and thousands, tens of thousands of dollars. And then, you know, there's just so much content out there. It's hard to get eyeballs on things. And so, you know,
I know it's kind of a catch-22 because all of the content or you have all these avenues. So you have, you know, a wider range of where you can release it. But then once you get it released, it's hard to get people to view it because there's so much out there.
Yeah. And I'm a believer in that, like, the good things do end up getting seen. It might take time to find an audience for it, but if it's good, like, it'll stick around, and people, you know, people will watch it. People will find it eventually. And so, and that's kind of my hope. Like Bad Romance, we didn't have really a traditional release where it's like, oh, that's coming out on this day and let's build up press towards this day. It was basically like, I just put it onto Film Hub, and like they slowly put it out whenever they wanted to. And then you know, Michelle with Epic is helping me actually like get the word out about it. And we're just kind of like slowly getting it out there, which is kind of cool. It's not like, let's just put it out there and do like 3 weeks of publicity. It's like, you know, let's put it out there, let it find an audience, have a little success, build some reviews.
I could totally see it being like a cult type of classic.
I hope so. That's my intention. Is that I want it to be a movie that becomes kind of can build up a bit of a cult following, and it, you know, and it'll be something, I think it'll be kind of cool as, you know, all the actors progress in their career, like Sanjay and me as a director, and people can come back and like, what was their first movie they did, and come back to it and look at it. And that's kind of cool too. And like,
That
and
is cool.
I love, I'm a huge fan of like micro budget, like DIY films from like first time filmmakers. Like I was really inspired by, even though it has nothing to do on a story level, like Peter Jackson's Bad Taste. And like, I don't know if you've seen that one. It was like his first micro budget film, which I love. And Christopher Nolan's Following, he made it for $5,000. That was a huge inspiration. Kevin Smith's Clerks, he made it for I think $20,000 or $25,000.
Yeah.
It's like
and it was black and white.
And that one's black and white. And Following's black and white. So those were kind of inspirations on the black and white. And so yeah, and I like it. And those movies they're not like masterpiece movies, but they're inspiring. They have their flaws. They're not perfect, but you can kind of see the hard work and the DIY of it. And you can see the talent behind, those filmmakers, and they've led on to like great things. So I was just inspired by that. And that's like, I was actually, because that first film I was trying to make, I mean, I was trying to raise a couple $100,000, and I'm actually really glad I did, because it was kind of cool to just do this little DIY kind of like scrap it all together, rely on your storytelling and your actors' talents, and just like, I think that's kind of interesting.
Yeah, I do too. So I thought your acting was actually really good.
Really? Thank you.
Did that like that get anything started with you? Do you plan on trying to act on the side somewhere?
So that's, I mean, thank you, Full. I appreciate the nice comments. I moved out to LA, and I'm still like new to it, and I'm still not very good in my opinion, but I've been taking acting classes out here in Los Angeles, and it is something that I plan on pursuing.
Yeah.
On the side though, like my main focus is still writing, directing, and producing, but it is like, I would love to kind of pursue that. And I'm definitely going to give myself small little roles in all my movies. So
well, I think you should. And even doing it, just if you're doing it even part-time, it helps develop those relationships. You never know when you'll meet somebody that you might need at some point.
Yeah. It was, like I said, I had a blast. Like, and Sanjay really helped me too when I was acting. Like I literally told him and my DP, I actually told everyone on set, I was like, y'all can collectively direct my performance. And so everyone was giving me really good notes, and Sanjay in particular, we I was so nervous because Sanjay's such a genius at not only acting, but improving. I remember telling him before we were shooting, I was like, I know you've been doing a lot of improv. We're not doing any improv, my stuff, because I'm going to be terrible at that. But he was like, okay. But I think in the back of his head, he knew he was going to try to pull some stuff out of me. And so we ended up doing quite a bit of improv in the scenes that I did with him. And I'm glad he kind of pulled that out of me. So he actually kind of led the way with that kind of stuff in the movie.
Where did you find him for acting? Was it just a call, or did you know him from somebody?
We had a mutual friend in Austin. My really good friend, actually from childhood, we went to high school together, was Raleigh Moore, who plays Jack S.
Oh,
and he's actually more of a filmmaker than an actor, but he had been taking acting classes in Austin, and he was in acting class with Sanjay, and they became kind of close. And so I had actually worked with Sanjay. I don't even know if Sanjay remembers this. I don't even know if I ever brought this up to them, but I worked with Sanjay like 2 years before we even went into production on Bad Romance on this small little thing that one of my other friends was making. It was like a teaser thing for Fantastic Fest, actually. And they needed an actor and basically like a background actor, which was me, just to like stand in and fill up space. And so we worked on that together. And I remember us like talking and chatting and stuff. But so I had kind of knew him. And then when I was casting Bad Romance, I auditioned a lot of actors. I hired most of the cast I hired on, I didn't have a casting director, couldn't afford a casting director. So I hired most everyone off of, there's a couple of really good websites that you can cast really good actors. Backstage was one, Actors Access. And actually a lot of the smaller roles I just cast off of Craigslist. And the Texas Film Commission helped out with some of that stuff too. But with Sanjay, so I auditioned a lot of people for Rob. And there were a couple of really good actors who auditioned. But Raleigh kept telling me, he's like, I have this guy, I'd be perfect for the role. And I was like, who, Sanjay? And he's like, yeah, Sanjay. And I was like, okay, I'll see him for an audition. And he came into audition and just killed it, blew it away. And he was doing something that all the other actors that I cast didn't do, or audition didn't do. Because on the page, he was more like socially awkward and robotic and like mechanical in a funny way. And
Yeah.
Sanjay, like you can see in the final result, he plays him, he's more empathetic, he's more likable, like he's just more sensitive. And he brought that into the audition whilst doing this sort of like socially awkward kind of stuff. And like when I saw that, I was like, that guy is doing something that no one else is doing, and it's going to bring like a likability to the character and help sell the
Yeah, it
romance.
did.
Yeah, and he also was like, uh, when I auditioned people, I had him do like a couple scenes that I wrote, but I also had him improv a little bit just because I knew I
Yeah.
wanted to have a little bit of that. And he was by far like the best person who could, do.
I can't imagine anybody else in that role now that I've seen him
I
in
can't
it. I
either. I
thought he was
can't either.
perfect.
I
Yeah,
got
he was
so
so
lucky
good.
with it, with all the cast too. Emily, like
Yeah, she was terrific.
perfect for that role. She absolutely kills it and holds her own with Sanjay. And yeah, and like the romance between them, like I don't know I think they were rehearsing on the side too, because their chemistry is so good that like it really has nothing to do with me. It was like, yeah, I cast them, but I think they just did a good job working on their characters, and I think they were probably rehearsing a lot. And yeah, like I hit the jackpot with all those guys. And then I want to give a shout out to Jeff Riberty too. He who plays Frank. He's a great villain for a noir film, and he absolutely killed it too.
Yeah, we like Frank.
Yeah. pretty dark character.
He was
A sociopath, but yeah, he was great. He could really nail the comedy beats. He really knew the tone that I was going for. And yeah, and he did great too. He was actually living in New York. He just sent a self-tape, and self-tapes are like big now in the acting community as far as auditioning. Pretty much what everyone does. But we actually shot this before the pandemic even hit. So that's how long it's taken me to get this movie out there.
Well, and I talked to a lot of writers and producers that are getting kind of those independent projects out, and it takes all of them a long time.
Yeah,
it's just tough when you have to do everything yourself.
Yeah. It's I have a lot of empathy for you hear stories about that, how it takes filmmakers, like 5 years to make a film, and it does sometimes, especially on the first one. I think it's quicker as you go along and you kind of learn what you're doing, and you get people who can kind of like help you do things and stuff. Because a lot of this, like I was the only producer on this project, and I was, so it was just really difficult, and I'll never do that again.
Well, hopefully you won't have to. Hopefully, as you go along, you'll be able to add people into.
Yeah, I think that's the biggest thing, is like finding collaborators, and I met a lot of people through making this that can help out on the next ones. But Jeff, he was living in New York and he just sent in a self-tape. He didn't even audition in person, and his self-tape just was perfect. And I think I remember telling him when we were shooting, I was like, just do it. Or like, I think it was one of the scenes. I think his audition was the scene where he's yelling at Rob about putting the blanket on the person in the trunk. I think that was one of his scenes. And I think I remember telling him like on set that day, I was like, just do it exactly the way you did it in your self-tape on your audition, because that was perfect. And he did. And yeah, he killed it. But he had family living in, he grew up in Austin, and he had family still living there. So he could just come back and stay on his folks' couch.
Oh, that's nice. Yeah, that was a funny scene, because he's like, the point is to make him uncomfortable.
Yeah, exactly. Stop putting the blanket on him. Putting the trunk so it's uncomfortable. Yeah. Yeah. He's great.
That was pretty good. So Chad, this has been terrific. Thank you for taking a little bit of time. So the movie's Bad Romance, and it's out everywhere now, right?
Yeah, well, it's out on Amazon Prime Video and
that's
Vudu.
where we watched it.
Oh, really? Cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, Prime Video and Vudu, and then it's also on Tubi, so you can watch it for free with ads on Tubi. And it's coming. It's not out yet on Apple TV and Google TV, but it's coming. It's getting there. I think in the next few weeks or months, hopefully not months, it'll be on those platforms too. But yeah, it's out there, and I can send you if you want to put in the show notes, I can send you the little like link tree link to where it's
Oh
like
yeah.
accessible to all of them. So
Yeah,
it'll
of
be
course.
updated whenever it comes out on a new platform. So
Yeah,
yeah.
that'd be awesome. So, okay, so a couple of things before we wrap up. Anything else that you're working on that we can keep an eye out for?
Well, I have my next feature that I want to make. It's written, and pretty much I have to do one last little pass through of it, but yeah, that's I'm gonna go full force into trying to get that made here. But yeah, other than that, that's about it. Yeah.
Yeah, that's awesome. I think you're really talented, not
Oh, thank
just
you.
as a writer, but as an actor. So I'm
Oh, thank you.
anxious to see what you do next.
Oh, I appreciate that. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. Okay, so last thing before we go, where can we? I assume you'll let us know on social media when you have a new project. Where can we find you on social media?
Yeah, you could just follow me on, I mean, Instagram's the one I'm the most active on. It's just at Chad Hamilton Films. And then I'm also on some other stuff, but Instagram's probably the best one.
Yeah, Instagram's the nice one.
Instagram's the nice one. Yeah, I was on Twitter years ago, and I never like posted, but I used to like follow people, and then I stopped for like 5 years. I didn't log on to Twitter, and then when I was releasing this movie, I was like, I should probably start a Twitter account again. And I got back on, and it's kind of like a crap show on Twitter now. And apparently everyone's like leaving Twitter. So I don't know, but I technically have a Twitter, but
You got to have one just so you can keep up with what's going on, all the nonsense.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's not really the place you go to interact anymore.
Right. And I like the platform. Like it's a great like idea for a platform, but yeah, it just became toxic, and who wants to deal with that? And then
I know it's kind of like Facebook when Facebook first came out. For about 10 minutes, it was the best, and then we screwed it up.
Yeah, Facebook was cool. Yeah, I grew up right when Facebook was really taking off. I think I was in, it was towards the end of high school for me. And it was fun, like, because nothing had been, it was like the first main like social media platform. So no one really knew how to be like proper on it, if that's the right term.
No,
So
yeah, that's true.
Craziest stuff. And it was fun. Like we loved it back then, but
yeah, we did too. It well, it let you connect with people you hadn't seen in forever. You got to share all your photos and stuff. It was good.
Yeah,
but then
yeah.
we messed it.
We messed it up. It's still good. Like I found some really good like groups on there as far as like movie distribution and stuff. And so I'm actually like kind of getting back into Facebook. Weirdly.
It is really good. The group part of it is really good because you can find a lot of like-minded people, and especially if you're trying to work in a certain field, it's really useful.
Yeah. And it's good. Like it's a good way. Like all my family is still really into Facebook, so it's a good way to keep up with my family.
That's mainly what I mean. We promote the podcast on there, but
yeah, I saw your Facebook page. Yeah, it's huge.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, that one we've been working on for a while. I think we started it about 10 years ago, but then the podcast, we started in 2019. And I was like, well, there we go. We already got this group. We'll use it to promote the podcast, and that's worked out pretty well.
Yeah. And I like the advertising actually is really good on Facebook, running like Facebook ads or Meta, whatever it's called, Meta.
Yeah.
I think that's still the best one. I haven't tried doing, because that's kind of how I'm promoting a little bit as well on the side, is run like Facebook ads and stuff. And it's cool. Yeah. I was like, it's actually like they did a good job with that.
They did. That's true. That's true. Yeah. Well, Chad, thank you so much. I hope when you get the next project ready, you'll come back.
Oh, for sure, man. Yeah. Thank you so much, Mike. Thank you for giving me the opportunity, and I'd love to come back anytime you want to have me on, for sure.
Yeah. Love to have you. I absolutely love this movie. I mean, it was quirky enough that I was like, oh yeah, this is one I would not mind seeing more than this. It's really
cool. I appreciate that. Oh, and then one more thing. If anybody's listening, no matter where you watch it, if you could write if you liked it, if you could write a review for the movie on wherever. IMDb is probably the best one, but if you could like actually write a review, or if you watch on Amazon, write an Amazon review, because that really helps with the algorithms on getting it out to platforms and more people for these small little things. So yeah, if you're listening, that would be a huge, huge favor. And
yeah, we got to get this one out there.
Yes, yes.
All right, Chad, hold on 1 second. All right, so that was the talented Chad Hamilton. I love his story because he got kind of a late start into the entertainment business, and he's basically created his own luck. And I think that is so commendable and just awesome. A lot of people would have given up when they couldn't get their movie made. He just switched directions and got this one made. Do yourself a favor and check out Bad Romance. We watched it on Amazon, but it's on Tubi and several other platforms. Check that out. Help support him. I think we're going to hear a lot from him. The script is awesome. It's funny. It's quirky. Very, very cult film status type of movie. I think you'll enjoy it, and the acting's really. It was fun. We really enjoyed watching that. So I hope you enjoyed that. Love spotlighting people that may be going a little under the radar and help bring them to the forefront. Definitely lend your support to Chad. If you're finding us for the first time, we could use your help as well. It's real easy to do. It's free. If you're watching, it's YouTube MeisterCon Pod. Just hit subscribe. That'll really help us out. If you're listening, wherever you listen to your podcast from or whatever application you're using, just subscribe there. That'll help us as well. We really appreciate that. We're closing in on 600 episodes. Can't believe it. And you can find all of those audio and video on our website, meistercon.com. If we're in studio watching Bad Romance, that'll be on the website. If we're going on location, if we're covering a convention, all of that will be listed on the website, so you can kind of keep track of what we have going on there. Thank you so much. Until next time. Bye, everybody.